Doo-ha Kim stared at the screen in front of her, her eyes wide with surprise. The readings from the small blue planet didn't make sense. She had studied thousands of worlds during her years with the Galactic Council's research division, but this one was different. "Computer, run the scan again," she said, tapping her fingers on the desk. The massive research ship hung silently in space, hidden behind the planet's moon. They had found Earth during a routine mapping mission of this arm of the galaxy. The computer beeped. The same results appeared on screen. Doo-ha leaned forward, her long black hair falling over her shoulders as she studied the data more closely. The planet showed signs of not just one intelligent species, but several. Most were extinct, but one remained, and it was thriving. "Captain, you need to see this," she called out, her voice carrying across the quiet bridge. Captain Nina Park walked over, her footsteps echoing on the metal floor. She was tall for a council member, with short hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "What have you found, Researcher Kim?" "Look at these DNA traces," Doo-ha said, pointing to the screen. "This planet has had at least 5 different intelligent species, but now there's only one left." Yina frowned. "Natural extinction events." "No," Doo-ha shook her head. "The evidence suggests they all lived at the same time. They competed with each other. And this species, the one calling themselves humans, they won." The bridge fell silent. In all of known space, no other world had produced multiple intelligent species at once, and no species had ever wiped out their competitors to become dominant. "Show me more," Yina ordered, pulling up a chair. Doo-ha brought up more scans. "The surviving species, humans, they're everywhere on the planet now. But we can still find traces of the others. Here and here." She pointed to different locations. "They call one kind Neanderthals, another Denisovans. There are more we haven't identified yet." "Are they dangerous?" Yina asked, studying the images of human cities that covered the planet. "They're interesting," Doo-ha replied carefully. "Their technology is basic. They've only reached their own moon. But their development is incredibly fast. And look at this." She pulled up another screen. "Their bodies show signs of both hunting and running. They can throw things with amazing accuracy. Their brains are large, and they use tools better than any species we found." Yena stood up straight, her face serious. "You're saying they hunted the other intelligent species?" "The evidence suggests they did more than hunt them. They competed with them, fought them, and eventually replaced them completely." Doo-ha looked up at her captain. "Every other species we've met evolved alone on their worlds. But humans had to fight their way to the top. And they won." The captain walked to the main window, looking down at the blue planet below. "The council needs to know about this. Send all the data to headquarters. And prepare a first contact team." She turned back to Doo-ha. "But be careful. We need to understand them better before we reveal ourselves." "Yes, Captain," Doo-ha said, already sending the data. As she worked, she couldn't help but feel excited. Humans were different from any species they had met before. They hadn't just survived. They had competed and won against their own cousins. As the ship moved into a higher orbit, Doo-ha kept studying the scans. The more she learned about humans, the more fascinating they became. They had art, music, and culture. They could be kind and cruel. They built amazing things and sometimes destroyed them. They were full of contradictions. But one thing was clear: they were survivors. And now, they were reaching for the stars. "Captain," Doo-ha called out again, "I think I found something else. Their stories, their myths. Many of them talk about monsters, about fighting in the dark, about defeating powerful enemies." She looked up at Yena. "What if they're not just stories? What if they're memories? Memories of fighting the other human species?" Yena walked back to Doo-ha's station. "Keep studying. We need to know everything about them before we make contact." She paused, looking at the planet again. "The Council has never dealt with a species like this before. We need to be ready." The research ship continued its silent watch, gathering data about the strange species that had fought its way to dominance on the blue planet below. Humanity's first contact with alien life was coming, but the aliens were far more worried about it than the humans were. Han Li wiped the sweat from his forehead as he carefully brushed dirt away from the bone fragment. The summer sun beat down on the archaeological site, but he barely noticed the heat. What he had found was too important. "Professor Li," a voice called from the other side of the dig site. "You need to see this." Han Jie stood up, his knees cracking after hours of careful digging. He walked over to where his team had opened a new section of the cave. As he switched on his flashlight, his breath caught in his throat. The cave walls were covered in paintings, but these weren't the usual prehistoric human art they usually found. These were different. The figures were shorter, more muscular, with heavy brows and strong faces. Neanderthal art. "This is amazing," he said, running his hand over the ancient paintings. "And look at the floor." The ground was covered with stone tools, bones, and, most importantly, signs of fire use. They had found a preserved Neanderthal settlement. But something else caught his eye. Among the Neanderthal tools were others, different ones, human tools. "Get the dating equipment," he told his team, "and call the university. They need to see this." Above the cave, hidden by advanced cloaking technology, Du-Ha Kim and Yina Park watched through their ship's sensors. "They're getting close to the truth," Du-Ha said, adjusting the scanner. "This site shows clear evidence of conflict." Yina nodded, her face serious. "Show me the deep scans." The computer created a three-dimensional image of the cave system. Layers of history appeared in different colors. The Neanderthal settlement was clear, but so were the signs of ancient human presence. And there was something else. "Look at this pattern," Du-Ha pointed to the screen. "The Neanderthal tools and belongings are scattered, like they left in a hurry. And here," she highlighted several spots. "These marks on the bones, they're not from animals. They're from human weapons," Yina finished. "They didn't just compete, they fought." Back in the cave, Han Jie was making the same discovery. His team had found more evidence, spear points made by early humans, bones with cut marks, and signs of fire damage. The story they told was clear. This had been a battlefield. "Professor Li," one of his students called out, "the dating results are ready." Han Jie looked at the numbers and frowned. "This doesn't make sense. These human tools, they're from the same time as the Neanderthal settlement. They were here together." He walked deeper into the cave, his mind racing. All around him were signs of two intelligent species meeting, fighting, and one replacing the other. It wasn't a quick battle. The evidence showed it had happened over hundreds of years. The humans had been patient, persistent, and ultimately victorious. In orbit, Du-Ha's computer beeped with new data. "Captain, look at this. The humans didn't just fight. They planned. See these positions." She showed a map of ancient human settlements. They surrounded Neanderthal territories, cut off their hunting grounds, and slowly pushed them into smaller areas. "Strategic thinking," Yina said quietly. "Even back then, they could plan long-term military campaigns." Du-Ha nodded, and they were good at it. Really good. In the cave, Han Jie made one final discovery. In a small side chamber, protected from time by the dry cave air, he found two skeletons. One was clearly Neanderthal. The other was human. They had died fighting each other. What happened here? He wondered out loud, studying the ancient remains. What made us so different? Why did we survive when they didn't? Above him, Du-Ha was asking the same questions, but she had access to data he didn't. The computer had analyzed thousands of similar sites around the world. The pattern was always the same. Wherever humans and other species met, only humans survived. "Captain," she said, turning to Yina, "I don't think we should view humans as primitive anymore. They're not just survivors. They're winners. They fought their own cousins for control of their planet. And won." Yina stared at the cave entrance where Hanjai and his team worked. Then we need to be very careful how we approach them. A species that could eliminate its own relatives won't hesitate to fight us if they feel threatened. As the sun set, Hanjai packed up the day's discoveries, not knowing that his work was being watched by beings from another world. He had uncovered part of humanity's violent past, but he had no idea that this same history was making alien civilizations nervous about humanity's future among the stars. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives from 1,000 worlds sat in the curved rows of seats, all facing the central platform where Security Chief J1 Kang stood. The massive screens behind him showed images of Earth. "We cannot ignore the facts," J1 said, his voice firm. "These humans eliminated every other intelligent species on their planet. They are dangerous." The council members murmured among themselves. On one of the screens, a timeline showed the disappearance of different human species, one after another, until only modern humans remained. "But they show no signs of current aggression," argued Tae-young Choi, stepping onto the platform. As the council's lead scientist, his words carried weight. "They fight among themselves, yes, but they also work together. They create art. They help other species on their planet." Jai-1 pointed to a new image, the cave discoveries from Hanja Lee's dig site. "Look at the evidence. They didn't just survive. They hunted their cousins to extinction. No other species in the galaxy has done this." In the front row, Do-ha Kim shifted uncomfortably. She had spent months studying humans, and the truth was more complex than either J1 or Tae-young suggested. "May I speak?" she asked, standing up. The council leader nodded. "Humans are different from us," Do-ha began. "We all evolved alone on our worlds. When we met other species, they were very different from us. But humans, they grew up fighting things that looked like them, fought like them." She paused. This made them both stronger and more careful. The screens changed to show human cities, hospitals, and space stations. They learned to be aggressive when needed, but also to build and protect. They don't just destroy. They create, preserve, and defend. Jai-1 stepped forward again. "But can we trust them? If they meet us, will they see us as friends or as competition to be eliminated?" The room fell silent. It was the question everyone had been avoiding. Tae-young walked to the center of the platform. "I have studied their entertainment, their stories. Humans often imagine meeting aliens. Usually, they want to be friends. They dream of peaceful contact. And when they imagine hostile aliens," Jae-1 asked, "they fight back. Hard," Tae-young admitted, "but mostly to defend themselves." Captain Yina Park, who had been quiet until now, stood up. "What if their aggressive past is exactly why we need them?" Everyone turned to look at her. "The galaxy is not always peaceful," she continued. "We face threats. Pirates, dangerous alien life forms, natural disasters. Humans have something we don't. They know how to fight and survive against tough opponents. They've done it before." Do-ha nodded excitedly. "Yes. And look at this." She brought up new images. "When humans fight now, they have rules. Laws of war. They try to protect civilians. They're not mindless killers. They're protectors." The council leader raised a hand for silence. "We must decide. Do we make contact with Earth, or do we wait?" Jai-1 frowned. "If we wait, they'll find us eventually. Their technology is advancing quickly. Then perhaps," Tae-young suggested, "we should approach them carefully. Show them we want to be friends. Their history proves they can be both strong and peaceful." The council members began to vote. The screens showed the numbers climbing. Finally, the council leader stood. "The decision is made. We will proceed with first contact." He looked at Yina. "Captain Park, your ship will lead the mission. But be careful. Show respect. These humans fought their way to the top of their world. We must show them they don't need to fight us." As the council members left the hall, Duha stayed behind, looking at the images of Earth. Humans were unique in the galaxy, the only species that had faced real competition during their evolution. This made them different, special, maybe even dangerous. But it also made them survivors. And in a dangerous galaxy, sometimes survivors were exactly what you needed. She just hoped the Council had made the right choice. First contact with Earth would change everything, for both humans and the galaxy. The only question was, would it be a change for better or worse? The new Earth Embassy sparkled in the morning light of the alien world. Su-Min Lee stood at the window, looking at the strange pink sky. As Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Council, he had expected challenges. He hadn't expected pirates. "Ambassador, they're coming again," his aide reported, pointing to the radar screen. 3 ships were approaching fast, their weapons ready. Su-Min smiled. "Good. Let them come." In orbit, Captain Yina Park watched with growing interest. The pirates had attacked 3 other embassies this month. All had needed Council help to defend themselves. But the humans were different. "Look at their defense pattern," Duha Kim said, pointing to her screen. "It's like they've done this before." The human ships moved with surprising skill. They didn't just react. They predicted where the pirates would go. Within minutes, the pirates were trapped between the embassy's defense ships and the planet's gravity. "Impossible," Jai-Wan Kang muttered. The security chief had come to watch the humans' first real space battle. "They've only had our technology for 6 months. How are they this good at space combat?" Duha pulled up some old files on her screen. "Look at these. Ancient human hunting techniques. See how they would trap animals between hunters and natural barriers." She pointed to the battle outside. "They're doing the same thing, just in space." The pirates tried to escape, but the human ships had every exit covered. In less than an hour, it was over. No ships were destroyed, and no one died. The pirates were captured, their ships taken intact. In his office, Su-Min received the congratulations of other ambassadors. But he was more interested in talking to Han-Jae Lee, who had just arrived from Earth. "The cave paintings," Han-Jae said, spreading photos on the desk. "They don't just show fighting. They show hunting strategies, trap-making, group tactics." He pointed to one image. "Our ancestors weren't just strong. They were smart hunters." Su-Min nodded. "And we never lost those instincts. We just sleepwalked through a lot of our history, not needing them." "Until now," Han-Jae added. On her ship, Yina Park was reaching the same conclusion. "They're natural warriors," she told her crew. "Not because they love fighting, but because they had to be. Their whole evolution was one long war." Duha brought up more data. Other species in the Council evolved through cooperation. Their planets had enough food and space for everyone. But Earth, she showed images of ancient human migration patterns. Earth was always a battle. For food, for territory, for survival. "And now?" Jai-Wan asked quietly. "Now they're trying to be peaceful," Duha said. "But they haven't lost their old skills. Look how easily they adapted our space technology to their ancient hunting tactics." In the embassy, Su-Min was sending a report to Earth. The Council needed to understand something important. Humans weren't just quick learners. They were drawing on deep, ancient knowledge. "We carry the memories of 1,000,000 battles in our bones," he wrote. "Not just against animals or the environment, but against other thinking beings. We know how minds like ours work, how they think, how they fight. Because we spent thousands of years fighting minds like our own." The pirates' capture made news across the galaxy. Other species were surprised by how easily the humans had won. But Su-Min knew the truth. It wasn't just about winning. It was about winning smart, winning clean, and winning without unnecessary harm. That night, as the pink sun set, Han-Jae showed Su-Min one last cave painting. It showed 2 groups of early humans working together to hunt a large animal. "See," Han-Jae said, "we learned to cooperate too. We had to. The ones who only knew how to fight, they didn't survive. Su Min smiled. Maybe that was humanity's real strength. Not that they were good at fighting, but that they knew when to fight and when to make peace. They had learned both lessons in the hardest possible way, by fighting themselves. Above the embassy, Yina Park made a note in her log. Humans are not just dangerous. They are experienced, and that makes them both valuable allies and terrible enemies. Let us hope they remain our friends. Tae-young Choi stood in front of the giant screen in the council's science chamber. His presentation had made the room completely silent. Even the usual whispers and movements had stopped. Humans didn't just compete with other human species, he explained, pointing to the DNA patterns on the screen. They hunted them, like prey. Do-ha Kim sat in the front row, her hands tight in her lap. She had helped Tae-young with this research, and the results still made her uncomfortable. "Show them the cave evidence," she said quietly. Tae-young nodded and changed the screen. "These marks on the bones, they're not random. They're butcher marks. The same kind humans made when hunting animals." He paused. They didn't just kill their competitors. They ate them. The council members shifted uneasily in their seats. On Earth, humans had become used to thinking of themselves as the only intelligent species. But out here in space, surrounded by alien civilizations, their past looked very different. "But that's not the most important part," Tae-young continued. He showed new images, brain scans of modern humans. "Look what hunting other intelligent species did to their brains." Do-ha stood up and joined him. Most predators evolve to hunt prey that isn't as smart as they are. But humans, she pointed to specific parts of the brain scan. They evolved to hunt prey that could think, plan, and fight back. Prey that was almost as smart as they were. In the back of the room, Su Min Lee listened carefully. As Earth's ambassador, he needed to understand how aliens saw humanity's past. The truth was both impressive and scary. "This changed how humans think," Tae-young explained. "They don't just track physical signs like other predators. They can guess what their prey is thinking. They can predict what other intelligent beings will do." "Like they did with the pirates," someone in the audience said. "Exactly." Do-ha brought up video of the recent space battle. "See how they predicted where the pirates would go. That's not just good training. That's instinct. Very old instinct." Hanja Lee, who had been quietly taking notes, raised his hand. "I found something in the cave sites that supports this." He walked to the front and connected his tablet to the screen. "Look at these hunting party positions. They're almost exactly the same as modern military formations." The room buzzed with quiet talk. Ji-won Kang, watching from his security station, frowned. "So humans are natural hunters of intelligent beings?" "Yes and no," Tae-young answered. "They can be. But they also learned something else." He showed new images, ancient human camps where different groups had traded and worked together. They learned when to hunt and when to cooperate. The groups that only knew how to fight, they died out too. Su Min stood up. "That's what makes us different. We know both sides. We can fight if we need to, but we also know the value of peace, because we learned both lessons the hard way." Do-ha nodded. "Their brains show this too. Humans have very strong centers for both fighting and cooperation. Most species only have one or the other." "Think about what this means," Tae-young said to the council. "Humans don't just have weapons or fighting skills. They have millions of years of experience dealing with other intelligent species, sometimes as enemies, sometimes as friends." The council leader leaned forward. "And how does this affect our relationship with them now?" Su Min answered before anyone else could. "It means we understand something very important, the cost of fighting. We know what it means to face an equal opponent, to risk everything." He looked around the room. "That's why we want peace. Not because we're weak, but because we know exactly how terrible war can be." The room was quiet again. Finally, the council leader spoke. "Then we should be grateful. The humans' hard past has made them perfect for what we need. Allies who know both war and peace, who can fight if needed but prefer not to. As the meeting ended, Duha looked at her final screen. It showed 2 DNA patterns, one from a modern human, one from a Neanderthal. They were different, but with many shared parts. Humanity's past was complex and sometimes dark, but it had created something unique, a species that understood both conflict and cooperation at the deepest possible level. We didn't just kill our cousins, she whispered to herself. We learned from them. And that learning never stopped. The alarm sirens woke Su Min Lee at 3 in the morning. Red lights flashed throughout the Earth Embassy as he rushed to the command center. On the main screen, he saw what everyone had feared since first contact, an invasion fleet. Unknown ships, his aide reported. At least 30 of them. They're not responding to any signals. Su Min's face hardened. Wake up, Earth Command, and get me Captain Park. In orbit, Yina Park was already tracking the incoming fleet. They're not council ships, she told Duha Kim. No Gnome's signature. They must be from outside council space. They're heading straight for Earth, Duha said, checking her screens. They think humans will be easy prey. Su Min's face appeared on their screen. Captain Park, we need your help, but not to fight. He smiled, and something in that smile made Duha remember their research about human predators. We just need you to watch and learn. Within an hour, Earth's defense fleet was moving, but they didn't rush to meet the enemy. Instead, they spread out in a pattern that made Duha sit up straight. That formation, she said, it's like the cave paintings, the ancient hunting groups. Han Li, who had been called to the command center, nodded. Look at the star map. The human ships are setting up the same kind of trap our ancestors used, using space itself as their weapon. The alien fleet approached Earth confidently. They had invaded many worlds before, and these humans were new to space travel, but they didn't understand what they were facing. They're in position, Su Min reported calmly, beginning Operation Ancient Memory. The Earth ships didn't attack head-on. Instead, they moved like hunters, herding their prey. Some ships pushed the aliens away from escape routes. Others waited quietly behind asteroids and moons, like ambush hunters of old. This is incredible, Jaiwan Kang whispered, watching from the Council's security center. They're not fighting like a modern army. They're hunting like their ancestors. The alien fleet realized too late that they were being trapped. When they tried to retreat, hidden Earth ships appeared behind them. When they tried to break left or right, they found more ships waiting. Every move they made was predicted and blocked. How are they doing this? An alien commander demanded over an open channel. They're too new to space combat. No, Su Min answered them. We're very, very old at this. We've been hunting intelligent prey for hundreds of thousands of years. In her ship, Duha suddenly understood something important. This is why humans survived when their cousins didn't. She told Yina. They don't just fight. They outthink their opponents. They predict. They plan. The battle ended in less than 6 hours. The alien fleet, trapped and surrounded, surrendered. Not a single ship was destroyed, and very few lives were lost. The humans had remembered their ancestors' most important lesson. The best hunt was one where you controlled every move. Efficient, Jaiwan said, reviewing the battle data. Too efficient. They shouldn't be this good at space combat. But they are, Hanje replied, showing him more cave paintings. Because everything they did today, they learned long ago. Fighting other human species taught them how to think like their enemies, how to predict what intelligent opponents would do. In the aftermath, Su Min met with the council. We don't want to fight, he explained. But we remember how. Our bodies remember. Our brains remember. Even our stories remember. Duha added her own report. Human hunting tactics evolved to catch prey that could think and plan. This makes them uniquely suited for space combat. They don't need to learn new strategies. They're using strategies that are millions of years old. That night, as the captured alien ships were secured, Yena Park made a final note in her log. Today we learned why humans survived when their cousins didn't. Not because they were stronger or faster, but because they learned to think like predators while keeping the wisdom to know when not to be predators. The galaxy should be very glad they're on our side. In his office, Sumin looked at an ancient spear point Han-Jae had given him. It was made by human hands hundreds of thousands of years ago. We remember, he whispered. Everything our ancestors learned, we remember. And now, the galaxy knows it too. Doo-ha Kim couldn't believe what she was seeing. After the battle with the invasion fleet, she had gained access to the Council's deepest archives. What she found there changed everything she thought she knew about galactic civilization. Captain Park, you need to see this, she called out, her voice shaking slightly. Every species in the Council, they all evolved the same way. Yena Park walked over to Doo-ha's screen. What do you mean? Look, Doo-ha showed diagrams of different alien worlds. On every Council planet, intelligent life evolved through cooperation. No competition. No other intelligent species to fight against. She brought up more images. They shared resources, helped each other. Their brains evolved to work together, not to fight. Unlike humans, Yena said quietly. Exactly. Doo-ha pulled up the latest scans from Earth. Humans evolved through competition, through conflict, she hesitated, through war. In his office at the Earth Embassy, Su-Min Lee was reaching similar conclusions. He sat with Han-Jae Lee, looking at reports from different alien worlds. See this. Han-Jae pointed to a chart. No other species had to fight for survival against their own cousins. They never had to guess what their enemies were thinking, because they never had real enemies. Su-Min nodded slowly. That's why they were so surprised by how we handled the invasion. They'd never seen real tactical thinking before. At the Council's main research center, Tai-Young Choi was explaining this to a room full of alien scientists. He showed them the cave paintings, the ancient weapons, the burial sites where different human species had fought. Our ancestors didn't just survive, he explained. They learned. Every battle taught them something new, how to think better, how to plan better, how to understand their enemies better. One alien scientist raised a hand. But why didn't you destroy yourselves? Tai-Young smiled. Because we learned something else too. He showed new images, ancient trading sites, shared caves, mixed communities. We learned when to fight and when to make peace. The groups that only knew how to fight, they died out. In the Council's Security Center, Ji-1 Kang was writing his own report. Humans are unique, he wrote. They are the only species we know that evolved through both conflict and cooperation. This makes them dangerous, yes, but it also makes them valuable. Doo-ha had found something else in the archives. Look at this, she told Yena. Other species, when they face danger, they either run away or fight blindly. But humans, she showed recordings from the recent battle. They think like predators and prey at the same time. They know how to fight, but they also know how it feels to be hunted. That's why they won, Yena realized. They understand both sides. In the embassy, Shu-Min was explaining this to Earth's leaders. We're different, he said. Not better, not worse. Just different. We learned our lessons in the hardest possible way, by fighting ourselves. But those lessons made us strong. Han-Jae added, and now we can use that strength to protect others, to help species that never had to learn these hard lessons. Doo-ha finally understood why humans seemed so strange to other species. Every other race in the galaxy evolved in peace, she told Yena. But humans evolved in war. Not just against nature or animals, but against other thinking beings. It changed them, made them ready for a dangerous galaxy. That evening, the Council held a special meeting. Su-Min stood before them, with Doo-ha's research displayed behind him. Yes, we are predators, he said, but we're also protectors. We learned both roles the hard way. He looked around the room. We don't want to fight, but if we must fight to protect others, we know how. We've known for a very, very long time. The council members understood now. Humans weren't just another species joining their civilization. They were something new, a race that understood both war and peace at the deepest possible level. Duha made one final note in her research. Humans are the children of both conflict and cooperation. This makes them unique in the galaxy, and perhaps it makes them exactly what the galaxy needs. Su-Min Lee stood on the bridge of Earth's newest starship, the Defender. Around him, crews from 20 different alien worlds worked together with human officers. 1 year after the invasion attempt, things had changed a lot. Ambassador, a young alien officer called out, "We're picking up distress signals from the Orion trading route." Su-Min nodded. "More pirates?" "Yes, sir, but different this time. They have new weapons." Su-Min smiled. "The pirates never learned." "Show me the tactical display." On the main screen, red dots showed the pirate ships surrounding a group of merchant vessels. The merchants were all from peaceful council species, the ones who had never evolved to fight. "Time to teach them about human hunting techniques," Su-Min said. "Call Captain Park's ship. We'll need her help for this." In her own ship, Yena Park was already moving to help. She had spent the last year working with human crews, learning their ways of thinking. What had once seemed scary now seemed impressive. "Duha," she called to her science officer. "Remember those cave paintings? The hunting party formations?" "Duha," Kim smiled. "Already plotting the course, Captain. The pirates won't know what hit them." The Defender and Yena's ship, along with their mixed crews, moved into position. They didn't attack right away. Instead, they waited, watched, and planned, just like human ancestors had done when hunting dangerous prey. "Look at them," Jai-1 Kang said from his security station on the Council homeworld. "They're teaching our people how to protect themselves, not just with weapons, but with strategy." Beside him, Tai-Young Choi nodded. "That's what makes humans special. They don't just fight. They think about how to fight smart, how to win with the least damage." The pirates soon found themselves in a familiar trap. Human hunting techniques, perfected over hundreds of thousands of years, worked just as well in space as they had on ancient Earth. "Impressive," an alien admiral commented, watching the battle. "They're not just protecting the merchants. They're teaching them how to avoid future attacks." In his research lab, Han-Ja Lee was studying something interesting. "Look at this," he told his mixed team of human and alien scientists. "Our ancestors didn't just fight other human species. Sometimes they traded with them, learned from them." He showed them newly discovered cave paintings. They showed different types of humans working together, sharing tools and knowledge. "That's what we're doing now," one alien scientist said, "learning from each other." Back on the Defender, Su-Min watched as the pirate ships surrendered one by one. Not a single merchant ship had been lost, and no lives had been wasted. "This is why the Council needs us," he told his crew. "Not because we're violent, but because we understand violence. We know how to stop it without causing more harm." Duha had been studying the results of this new cooperation. Human tactical thinking combined with alien technology, she reported to Yena. "It's making the galaxy safer for everyone." In the council chambers, Jai-1 gave his security report. Human protection teams are now operating in all major trade routes. Pirate attacks are down by 80%. And more importantly, peaceful species are learning how to defend themselves. The council leader looked pleased. "So the humans are not just fighting our battles. They're teaching us how to prevent battles." "Exactly," Tae-Young said. "They understand both sides of conflict, how to win it and how to avoid it, because they learned both lessons in their evolution." That evening, Su-Min sent a message back to Earth. "We're finding our place in the galaxy," he wrote. "Not as conquerors or warriors, but as protectors and teachers. All those hard lessons our ancestors learned, all those battles they fought, It wasn't just about survival. It was preparing us for this role. Yenna read her own report to the council. Humans are teaching us something very important. The galaxy isn't always peaceful, but with their help, we're learning how to keep the peace without losing our way. In his lab, Hanja looked at one last cave painting. It showed different human species hunting together, working as one. Maybe, he said to himself, this was always our destiny, not to fight alone, but to teach others how to protect themselves. 5 years after first contact, the Great Hall of the Galactic Council looked very different. Human delegates sat among the alien representatives, and the screen showed images of joint human-alien projects across the galaxy. Duha Kim stood at the speaker's platform, presenting her latest research. We finally understand why humans survived when their cousins didn't, she said, showing ancient DNA patterns. They didn't just kill their competitors. They learned from them. Behind her, new evidence from Hanja Lee's archaeological sites appeared on the screen. Look at these tools, she pointed. Some were made by Neanderthals, some by early humans. But the humans copied and improved the Neanderthal designs. They didn't just fight. They adapted and learned. Su Min Lee, now the head of Earth's diplomatic corps, nodded from his seat. This matched what they had seen in the past 5 years. Humans worked best when they had challenges to overcome, competitors to learn from. That's why we fit so well in the galaxy, he whispered to Yenna Park, who sat beside him. We need other species to learn from, just like we learned from our ancient cousins. Yenna understood now what had once seemed like a dangerous trait. Humanity's history of fighting other intelligent species had become their greatest strength. They knew how to deal with different minds, different ways of thinking. In orbit above the Council world, human ships patrolled alongside alien vessels. Captain Jaewon Kang watched them from his security station. Look how they work together, he said to Ta Young Choi. The humans teach combat skills, while our people teach them new technologies. Ta Young showed him some interesting data. The mixed crews perform better than either species alone, just like on ancient Earth when different human groups learned from each other. Back in the council hall, Duha revealed her most important discovery. We found something amazing in human DNA, she said. Small pieces from other human species. Neanderthals, Denisovans, and others we don't even have names for. The room went quiet. On the screen, genetic patterns danced and merged. Humans didn't just fight their cousins, Duhat explained. Sometimes they made peace, had children together, shared knowledge. She smiled. Modern humans carry parts of all those ancient species inside them. They are living proof that competition and cooperation can work together. Han Jae stepped up next, showing new cave paintings. We found more sites where different human species lived together, he said. They weren't always fighting. Sometimes they traded, helped each other, shared hunting grounds. Su Min stood up to speak. This is why we survived, he told the council. Not because we were the strongest or the smartest, but because we learned to be both predator and partner, fighter and friend. In the years since first contact, humans had helped create a safer galaxy. Their combat skills protected peaceful worlds. Their understanding of competition helped solve conflicts. Their experience with different kinds of minds made them excellent diplomats. We remember the hard lessons, Su Min continued, but we also remember the good ones. How to make peace after war. How to learn from those who are different from us. How to be strong without being cruel. Duha showed one final image, a new space station where humans and aliens work together. Look at us now, she said, still learning from other species, still growing, still adapting, just like our ancestors did. Yenna Park made her last report as Council Security Advisor. Humans taught us that the galaxy needs both strength and wisdom. They show us how to be powerful without losing our way, how to fight without forgetting peace. As the council session ended, Hanja looked at an old stone tool in its hand. It was made by Neanderthals, but had been used by early humans. We carry their legacy, he said quietly. All of them. The ones we fought, the ones we learned from, the ones we made peace with. In Earth's embassy, Sumin wrote in his final report, "We are children of both war and peace, of competition and cooperation. This is not a weakness. It is our greatest strength. And now, at last, we have found our true purpose, to help create a galaxy where both strength and wisdom can live together." The galaxy had changed. Humans had found their place in it, and the lessons learned over hundreds of thousands of years on Earth were now helping to build a better future among the stars.